Okay, let's start. Let's call the meeting to order. City Clerk.
Councilmember Agency Director Mann.
Present.
Marcus. Cilio.
Here.
Vice Mayor Vice Chairman Smith.
Here.
Mayor Chairman Paris.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you.
Move to excuse Councilwoman Marcus.
Second. We need to vote on it?
We could do it as an oral vote.
Oral? Okay.
Second.
That's fine. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Bishop Clifton Edwards from Livingstone Cathedral of Worship is going to do the invocation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and to all council members. I'm Bishop Edwards from City of Zion. I'm filling in for the Honorable Bishop Hearns, giving the prayer and devotion tonight. With bowed heads, gracious and eternal Father, we thank you for this privilege of asking for divine wisdom during these matters. Father, you said that righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. Father, we ask you for wisdom for our mayor and these council members that sit in the seat of authority over this great city. We understand of all of the trying issues that faces us: gang violence, foreclosures, financial and economic devastation. Lord Jesus, give us the wisdom on how to help people during these trying times. We thank you for those who sit in the seat of authority. You said the king's heart is in your hand. We thank you for these people who fill this room, who are concerned about the matters of this city. We don't know what to do, but we seek wisdom and solace from you, that you would give us divine wisdom during these trying times. Guide our hearts, guide our hands, and we'll give you all the praise, all the honor, and the glory is thine. In Jesus' name, everyone say it. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cilio, would you want to do the flag salute?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have a couple presentations. Actually, we have a few, don't we? Hey, we have a lot. The first one is Kristen Richards from Desert Christian High School. Okay, you ready for your speech? No. This is Kristen, they took your last name, Richards from Desert Christian High School. She's a 4-year starter for Desert Christian girls soccer team, leading the team to a CIF Southern Section championship in each of the past 3 seasons. You know, my son played soccer. He didn't do nearly as well. Kristen honors include being named first team All-League 3 times, All-CIF 3 times, and All-Valley twice. Kristen was this season's High Desert League's most valuable player, the AV Press Defensive Player of the Year, a CIF All-Star, and made the second team All-Daily News team. She maintains a 4.0, wow, a 4.0, and does all that. That is incredible. A 4.0 GPA at Desert Christian and Antelope Valley College, where you've been taking courses since 2007. So that means you were, 16 when you started? So where are you going to go to college? She's going to Master's College this fall on an academic and athletic scholarship. They ought to pay you to go. I guess they are. She's a Future Leader nominee for Awana. Is that an Awana Future Leader? What's the Future Leader? Oh, for the newspaper. Okay, and the Awana Citation Award winner. And you did a Geography B finalist. She's a volunteer at a retirement nursing home for the past 6 years. Is also a World Vision child sponsor and a Vacation Bible School teacher, and she plays the piano, keyboard, artwork including pencil and watercolor, and she's working on the school yearbook. Wow. I'd like you to meet my son. This is truly remarkable. I'm astonished. And so we have an award for you. We ought to have a job for you. Why don't you give her a job, would you, Brian? Thanks, Kristen. Kristen, that is a remarkable accomplishment. I'm proud to have you here. Thank you. Okay. I bet you got a speaker's card tonight, don't you? Tonight we have the awards for the Antelope Valley Gang Task Force, which conducted the recent sweep of the Lancas 13. You know, the fact that that gang has a 13 next to their name means Mexican Mafia. And to pull these people off the street was just an incredible accomplishment. I had the opportunity to go with them. It was a lot of fun. I also found out why we have sergeants, you know. They were going to let me use the battering ram on the door, and then the sergeant found out. So do we have him here tonight? Axel's rep. You didn't bring him, Axel? Where's Axel? No, I want to save it till they're here, okay? Axel? Axel, let's do this next meeting when they're here. Okay? They should get this themselves because they did an incredible job. They took that whole gang and put them away. I mean, rarely does that happen. And they did it all within, 4 hours? They got them all, and nobody got hurt. Now, that means, unfortunately, neither did they, but none of our guys did either. So we'll have them here next month. Okay? Thank you. In 2 weeks, yeah.
Rex?
Yes.
I think we have a couple more that are off script. If you would help Kelvin
Okay,
with
good.
the Lancaster.
Oh, they're on the additional presentations. Do you have them, Kelvin?
Right here.
Good. This is for the city staff on Looking Good Lancaster, and Kelvin's going to tell us about that.
Yes, sir. We also want to recognize first, though, Melanie Cross, and with the Latter-day Saints, if she can come up here. And I believe she has some other representatives that can also come up.
Well, you guys really did go off script, didn't you? Hi, how are you? It's nice to see you. Melanie gathered 417 people from the Church of, it's Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, right? To volunteer at Looking Good Lancaster. That's 417 people. That's huge. The coordination was through the East Side Lancaster Church. There were representatives from other church locations in both Lancaster and Palmdale. Their exceptional contribution as volunteers for Looking Good Lancaster is a true representation of the commitment and pride of the citizens. Have to their community in the Antelope Valley. As a result, their hard work, the entire Armagosa Creek area between Lancaster Boulevard and Avenue H is now free of debris and is looking good. How do you get 417 people to spend the whole Saturday picking up trash? That's quite an accomplishment. Thank you. That's great. Thank you. There we go. Hey, how do you like our new thing? We're proud of that. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you. And then, Mr. Mayor, we also wanted to recognize the planning organization, the group that really planned and worked with the Latter-day Saints, the Safe and Stronger Neighborhood Committee, a number of other city staff that is part of that committee. It's made up of different employees from all of the departments within the city that really came together to put this program together. And if you go down towards, we now call the South Downtown District, where Jane Reynolds Park is, you'll see some of the great results of that with the banners in the park. We've cleaned up the vacant lot. We went in there and mowed down the parkways, and we did that with a lot of help, tremendous amount of help from the community, the volunteers, the residents in the area.
So how many volunteers do we have out there?
I believe we had close to 600, if not over 600 volunteers in total.
That's incredible.
But
Congratulations.
we did want to recognize some of the members here today that were involved with the Looking Good Lancaster, and so we can call these folks up to receive their certificates.
Ruth Bush.
make it go faster, we could just call everybody up that was involved.
No, I want to do it one at
You
a
wanna do it one at a
time.
time?
It's a short agenda. We have Sylvia Donovan, and also I want Axel to see that, they're here. Brenda Gemlowski, well, there's no S. Louis Garibay. Is there supposed to be an S there? We'll get you another one.
She's a new employee.
Patty Garibay. Shelley Henson. Carmen Mackey. And Michael Monty, how do you say your last name? Yeah, that's right. And Sam McNutt. Robert Neal. Thank you. Give me that back. We'll get you a new one. Sylvia? Thank you. Ruth? How are you? And Carmen. Okay. And who's this for? Where's Elma? Is she here?
Sam, we called your name as well.
All right. Elma has to give this speech. And we have Sam too, right? Okay, great.
I didn't hear his name.
Sure. And you want one of these, Sam? I can. No, one of these. No.
Thank you.
Why'd I do that? Now I got to put it back. Okay. So, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. This is the ones who put it all together. Thank you very much. We got more off script. Okay.
This is a surprise for them.
Oh, yes, that's right. Okay, great. This is for Joe Cabral, Nicole Allen, and Kelly Tola.
We just call him Kelly.
Do we just call him Kelly? Come on down, Kelly. This is our communication staff, which means our public relations staff. And what they've done in the past, 6 months has been truly remarkable. We've been on CNN, we've been on NBC, we've been all over the LA media, which is really a change and a first for Lancaster. And in fact, we've keyed up the NBC spot, the NBC Nightly News. He even put us in front of Bloomberg, which is, that's quite an accomplishment because he probably owns the network. So if we can see that real quick.
Kelly has to do double duty.
Yeah, right.
I think Kelvin figured it out.
I'd like to acknowledge Nicole Allen is out sick today, but definitely part of the team. So.
She doesn't have the flu, does she?
And making a difference. Communities acting locally, not waiting for Washington for an economic boost. Nightly News begins now.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams.
We are back in just a moment with communities pitching in to help each other in hard times. Our Making a Difference report.
Making a Difference, brought to you by Nicoderm CQ.
We're asking folks to keep sending us, keep posting on our website the stories you encounter of good news, acts of kindness for others in this bad economy. We enjoy telling the stories on the air, like this email we received from Teresa in Florida, who writes, a real estate developer and landlord in Sarasota is offering discounted or even free rent to businesses that will provide local jobs in an economy that has been extremely hard hit by foreclosures and job loss. I think he deserves to be making a difference. Where the national economy is concerned, this is a period of scramble and wait for the federal stimulus money that we know is on the way. But a lot of localities can't afford to wait for the money. They've launched efforts on their own, like a program in California that's making a difference. Our report tonight from NBC's Lee Cowan.
Economically speaking, going local in Lancaster sounds pretty good. In this California city, if you hop on a new Harley, or you drive off in a new Toyota,
they will reimburse you this amount.
The city will repay your registration fees in coupons to be spent at local businesses.
I'll probably spend it on my grandkids. I always do.
Like here at Giovanni's Restaurant.
It's like the community reaching out to help each other.
It's just one of a host of creative finance ideas hatched by Lancaster to pull itself up by its own economic bootstraps. Why?
Washington is not going to pull us up out of anything.
With unemployment here hovering at a whopping 15%, the city was growing impatient, waiting for the federal so-called shovel-ready projects to create jobs. So instead, the city council came up with some of its own. It put contractors and engineers to work building a new city park and playground. And it bought and remodeled 100 foreclosed homes. Some are already back on the market. In Texas, the city of Carrollton tapped the Lone Star budget to create 200 local jobs. They're temporary, but for Trevin Brewer, it's something.
Might move me into something a lot brighter instead of being in a dark cave.
16 states and at least 30 cities and counties are working on these mini New Deals. Effective in the short term, say some economists, but maybe lacking in the long term.
We've got to focus on strategies like the emphasis being placed on small business growth, entrepreneurial development that creates new wealth.
The best thing that ever happened to me in life was getting fired.
It's that teach a fisherman how to fish idea that New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg is seizing on. His city is offering classes on how to become entrepreneurs. 200 people applied for just 27 spots.
It's not just about creating something that's like a job for me now, but really just carrying a career, something I can look forward to.
Homegrown solutions to an economic crisis that Main Street hopes to fix one street at a time. Lee Cowan, NBC News, Lancaster, California.
And that's our broadcast for this Monday night. Thank you for being with us. I'm Brian Williams.
And that was Joe, Nicole, and Kelly who put this together. So you're going to do this.
I'll do the last one. Let me. What I'd like to, if I may, one more for Joe and Kelly. This was the email we received from the NBC producer. I know we spent a lot of time in Lancaster, and it gets down to a short part. But as you could see, the majority of the spot was on Lancaster. It was an absolute pleasure working with you as well. You are one of the best communication staffs I've ever worked with. You put the New York City public relation folks to shame. Okay. New York City probably has more people in the PR department than the city of Rosamond has in it. So that's really an accomplishment for these folks.
Thank you.
And the last thing I would like to acknowledge is we launched a month ago a program, an employee recognition program, that gives employees and city residents a chance to point out the good things employers are doing and give them feedback. It's been very successful. We had 25% of our staff was nominated in the first month of the program. There's a lot of worthy folks. What we're going to do periodically throughout the years, give different awards and stuff. But the people that I want to acknowledge today, and Barbara Boswell, if you would come up, please. There are a lot of good ideas, and you can see in the economic stimulus, for example, those are very good ideas. For example, we have these gift cards. If you spend $300 in Lancaster, you get a $30 gift card. Okay? Ideas without implementation are nothing. So it took the finance department to figure out, on top of their other duties, how to give out to 4,000 households cards in about a month's time. That means taking receipts, adding them up, checking, making sure that there's no fraudulent activity in giving out cards. You've been in our city lobby over the last month. You know how difficult that is. They've done an absolute wonderful job in that. They are very happy that the last day of the program is tomorrow. Extremely happy. And what we will be doing for them as the first recipients of the Clear Choice Award for the month is we're going to have a very nice luncheon for them to honor them for that. But our mayor also has another surprise for them as well.
I'm going to give you my parking spot. That's the best spot in the house.
Any of those who know that in the summer months when it gets 110 degrees, being close to the door to enter is a prized thing. So I know that we will.
Thank you very much. Spread it around now. Yeah, okay.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, make just a few more comments about the media. They've done just a great job, and I thought maybe we might mention, besides the local newspaper and the local radio and the local TV stations that we've had this past year, and just made a couple notes here that we've been on the NPR radio station, KFWB. We've been on network television, either Channel 3, 11, 5, 2, 7, so many times I've lost track. One way or the other, we've had exposure. We've had exposure on the Super Bowl. We've been now on CNN, Fox News, Fox and Friends, NBC Nightly News. Going to be on National Geographic, the front page of the Wall Street Journal, and of course the Rolling Stone magazine. So, I mean, that's just what an accomplishment.
That's all exposure for good things. Yeah, it was good stuff, too.
Good stuff.
Okay. If anybody's going to be putting in any speaker cards, they have to do it before the first speaker speaks. After that, we'll close it, just so everybody's clear on that. Any items on the redevelopment consent calendar that we need to remove?
I'll move that we adopt the...
Excuse me. Item number RCC 3, Mayor, I'd like to recuse myself. Again, this is still in the south downtown area, and I have a property nearby. So the record would reflect that. I'll step away. If we're going to move that off the agenda.
I'll move that we now adopt the consent calendar as currently comprised.
Second that.
Let's vote. Four yeses, with Councilwoman Marcus absent. Okay, did you want to leave on the other one?
Yeah.
Move adoption RCC.
Go ahead. Council, just for the record, Councilman Mann has left the room. Okay.
Move adoption RCC 3.
Second.
Okay, let's vote. It's unanimous with one recusal and one absence. Okay, Councilman Mann is back in the room. The consent calendar, anything we need to remove?
Mayor Parrish had a request that we remove CC5 to be considered separately.
Okay. Anything else?
I'll move that we adopt the consent calendar as currently comprised.
I second that.
It's unanimous. And now CC5.
I'll move that we adopt CC5.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
Clear, yeah.
I didn't support the first time. I'm not supporting it the second time, that's all.
Okay, let's vote. And we will have to wait for Councilman or Councilperson Marcus to return, and we'll put it back on. It's 2-2. Moving on.
Let's open the joint public hearing.
I'm sorry.
Is there a problem?
No, we were going to ask that be continued, but I know that's what you're doing. Sorry.
Do we need a vote on it for continuing? Okay, I'll move that we continue joint public hearing number 1.
I'll second that.
To what date? May 12th?
Or do you want us to move to table it?
No, let's continue it to May 12th, and if we have the agreement done in time and signed, then we'll go ahead with that night. If not, then we'll continue it one more meeting.
Okay, I'll withdraw the motion, and then I'll move that we continue JPH 1 to May 12th.
I second that.
Let's vote. Okay, now we'll hear a staff report on new business item 1 from Mark Bozigian.
Mayor Paris and City Council members, before you tonight, we have, as we do annually, prepared for you all of the organizations that you as council members currently sit on. Last April, you voted on this. We've presented before you again the same committees and the same assignments by council members. These include things like the Antelope Valley Transit Authority, Sanitation District, Air Quality Management District. We have put it here for your discussion and direction on the upcoming year of assignments.
Okay. I'm confused. I'm assuming I'm just reappointing everybody to where they were.
Yes, if any of the council members would have some comments on the groups they're on, but yes, that would be our recommendation.
Okay, and that's what I intend to do. If anybody wants to move around,
I'm fine with what I'm
on. Do I need to review all of those, or can we just?
You can. I believe you can do it as one action, correct, Dave?
To keep all the committee appointments the same? Okay, that's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, let's vote. Thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you. So now I have the appointment of the vice mayor, and I intend to appoint Ron Smith as the vice mayor. Can I do that in light of the last vote?
Mr. McEwen, could we not, now that we did not take action on the previous item, could we not, using the old guidelines, move forward with a motion, a second, and a vote under the current ordinance?
For Vice Mayor Smith.
Sure. As we have done for the last however many years we've had an elected mayor, the council has appointed the person, and it is by acquiescence of the other members, the council has agreed that that person should serve as the vice mayor, the one appointed by or requested by the mayor.
Okay, so we're just proceeding under the old ordinance instead of the new one?
Correct.
All right. In which case, I would nominate Ron Smith to serve another year as vice mayor. Is there a second?
I second that.
Any discussion? Let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay. City manager?
Two announcements, sir. In a moment, I'm going to ask Chief Metro to come up and talk about the swine flu. But before that, I just want to acknowledge that the Poppy Festival this weekend was fabulous. I really, and staff appreciates the council being out there all days, both day. All of our staff, it's not just one department that puts it together. It's led up by our Parks Department. Jeff Campbell led it up, but all of the staff did a wonderful job. A lot of those folks, in fact, most of them volunteered their time that entire weekend. So I just want to acknowledge that. And we had, I think, close to over 43,000 people this weekend.
Wow.
Very good event. And with that, if there's no questions or comments, I'd like to ask Chief Metro to give us a brief update on the swine flu.
Mayor and City Council, There's been a lot of news media coverage in the swine flu, obviously. The facts are, as to date, as you know, the California governor declared a state of emergency when it comes to regarding the swine flu. The World Health Organization moved their pandemic alert level from a 3 to a 4. That occurred yesterday. The facts are that yesterday there was 40 confirmed cases of swine flu in the United States. There was 20 confirmed cases on Sunday. So those are the facts as we know them. Currently, to be classified as a pandemic outbreak, 3 factors need to be met. One is that the particular strain of flu has not been seen in humans previously. And what this means, most significantly, is that in light of that fact, there is no natural immunity in humans for that particular strain of flu. And then secondly, there's no known vaccine for that particular strain of flu. Secondly, obviously the flu must infect humans and cause illness. And then thirdly, it must spread easily and sustainably among humans without interruption. Currently, the swine flu has met 2 of those 3 criteria for being classified as a pandemic event. 40 right now means that we have a flu outbreak. It doesn't mean that we have a pandemic event yet. So the good news, if you can call it good news, is that we currently are in a preparation mode, not an emergency mode yet. The virus is spread the same way as seasonal flu viruses, through respiratory droplets expelled when a person coughs or sneezes. And it is large droplet transmissions, which means that typically it cannot spread from person to person if you're away more than 6 feet from the infected individual. Most significant, I think it needs to understand, is that for a pandemic event, a pandemic flu event, the flu strain in and of itself doesn't have to be an aggressively virulent strain of flu. It typically can be the same type of flu or the same symptoms that it causes for any seasonal outbreak. In fact, in the last 3 pandemic events in the United States, all 3 of those events, the particular strain of flu later migrated to the strain of flu that we typically see now as a seasonal outbreak. Additionally, the good news is that this particular type of flu is responsive to Tamiflu, which is part of the national stockpile. And it is stockpiled at the state level, and it's stockpiled at the county level as well. As many of you probably know, the national stockpile and the CDC is authorized to distribute 25% of the national stockpile, primarily pointed towards states along the Mexican border for administration. So that is the current state of the pandemic event as we know it. There has been, for many years, significant planning efforts on both the part of the World Health Organization, the United States, the DOT, the CDC, the state, and most county public health organizations, including Los Angeles County. LA County has for some time had an effort led by the Public Health Care Agency to develop extensive plans for a pandemic outbreak. And as I mentioned previous, we do have stockpiles within the county, and there are certain triggers for which we'll release those stockpiles based upon the type of virulent strain and the localized outbreak, if it is indeed localized. So there's a lot of news media about this event. The reason that the governor declared a state of emergency today is to release any bureaucratic constraints in the purchasing or testing for any virulent strain of pandemic flu. So with that, I'll offer any time for questions that you may have.
I have 2 questions, one of which I know the answer to and one of which I don't. Of the 40 people who have contracted the swine flu so far, have any of them died from it?
They have not.
And I think that's important to note because every year in this country, thousands of people die from the regular, plain old flu. And that has not happened. I think it's important to point that out because we don't want widespread panic. This is something that certainly bears watching, and it's important to watch, but don't run for the hills yet.
That's correct. Typically, 26,000 people die from normal seasonal flu outbreaks every year.
My other question was, what types of patients are getting the flu? Is this young kids? Is this the sick or the elderly? Have we seen any particular type of patient that's been getting the swine flu?
That's interesting because typically flus of this nature attack typically the young and the elderly and those that have an autoimmune problem. So far, the population that seems to be most affected by this particular swine flu outbreak has been those from 25 to 45 years of age. Now, keep in mind, because this is a very, very new flu strain, there isn't a lot known about this flu virus yet. So their CDC is working tirelessly trying to figure out what this thing is.
Well, given that it is a flu virus, and I'm sure you'll back me up on this, folks, it's incredibly important to do a very simple thing, and that is wash your hands. That is the single best thing we can do to prevent transmission of any flu virus.
That is absolutely correct. And also to use simple courtesy if you do have a cough or you do sneeze, is not to project those droplets across the room that you're in. Very, very important, equally as important as washing your hands.
We all learned that in kindergarten.
Yes,
wash your hands and cover your mouth.
Sometimes you just don't practice it very well.
Anything else? They have to have some models of when they expect this to hit. When do they expect it?
As far as whether it's going to be a pandemic or not?
If there's a rapid transmission through the population, when do they expect that to occur, if it occurs?
Again, there isn't enough information upon this particular flu strain to estimate its potential spread rate. Typically, one person will transmit the flu virus to 2 people. That's exactly what we saw between Sunday and Monday. We had 20 count, and then we had 40 people contract the disease on Monday. But typically when a pandemic occurs, the models show that it occurs in waves, and that the first wave typically will hit a localized geographic area and will last between 6 and 8 weeks. A national pandemic event could last as long as 12 weeks in the initial first wave. That's what the models show us so far.
And how many? The Tamiflu comes in boxes of 10, right?
It depends on which stockpile, but thereabouts.
How many are slated for Lancaster?
It all depends on if Lancaster has a breakout.
Assume that it does.
There is 50 million that's ultimately available for the localized area. LA County has over 1 million, and the stockpile is growing, and then the state has a stockpile as well.
Do you know how many would be available for Lancaster if this hits LA County?
It would depend upon the outbreak in Lancaster. I just talked to the Director of Public Health this morning, and they have a whole warehouse of Tamiflu right now. And that if there's a localized outbreak in the Antelope Valley, then what they would do is they would provide enough Tamiflu for local hospitals and healthcare providers and pharmacies to augment their current supply of the drug. And then based upon how much Tamiflu the doctors were prescribing at the time, they would augment that supply. Now, keep in mind, this particular flu strain, at least so far, isn't any more virulent than the typical seasonal flu outbreak. So many of these cases can just run the course and last between 4 and 5 days, as normal flu does. Typically, it's the at-risk populations that run the risk of being hospitalized for up to 5 days for a flu like this. It's those typically who would get the Tamiflu.
Who makes the decision?
Public Health.
That doesn't do it for me. Who? What person makes the decision as to who gets Tamiflu in the city of Lancaster if there's an outbreak? And what I'm concerned about is Tamiflu is not only to treat it, it's also a preventative measure that I'm assuming it's going to be distributed to our sheriff deputies and our healthcare providers, and how is that going to take place? And how do I know it's going to take place? I've been asking this for 2 days now. What I don't want to do is have to ask for it if people start dying from the flu. I mean, that's fair enough, isn't it?
Sure, absolutely. Tamiflu is more effective after the outbreak of a flu than it is as a preventative measure, although there is indications that it does help as far as a preventative measure for some flu strains. It's unclear whether it'll do the same for swine flu. The stockpile that LA County has, some of that will indeed be used for public health care providers because they are the ones that will be probably most significantly impacted by a pandemic event or epidemic event. So there is plans, and LA County Fire Departments participate in those plans to distribute Tamiflu to paramedics and EMTs and ambulance and healthcare providers in our local hospitals. So those plans are in place.
What about teachers?
Teachers? CDC and others oftentimes recommend that you shut the schools down if there's an epidemic event. Obviously, within the schools, there is a significant threat of spreading the disease just because kids are kids.
Where's the list of the people who get the Tamiflu as a preventive measure? I mean, is there such a list? If there isn't, why not? When can we see one? You know, if this isn't the flu that does it, there's going to be one that does it, and we all know that. There isn't any doubt that we're going to have a flu that comes along and starts killing people. Isn't that a fair statement?
Yes, I think it is.
And so, you know, it seems like now's a good time for us to know who's on the list.
Mayor, if you're speaking specifically,
if that list is inappropriately drawn up, I think that's an issue for the public to deal with, isn't it?
And I think you're right, but I think, and I'm being perfectly honest with you, being a county employee, and sometimes I get frustrated, as you probably do, with some of the systems that we're forced to live under. But understand that when it comes to a pandemic or an epidemic event, it's like battle. You adjust your troop deployments based upon where the enemy is going to attack. And that's the unknown, especially by nature of a pandemic event. It's an unknown virus, so you're not exactly sure how it's going to act. So to say that there is a list of people who will get it, it's going to depend entirely upon how the enemy attacks. Now, if it attacks the Antelope Valley in particular, then the Antelope Valley will get the first wave of a flu vaccine or Tamiflu. If it affects the South Bay, then they will get it. That's why there's no list. But, you know, again, there will be a priority, at least in the first wave, to protect public health care providers that are in the area of impact.
When can I have the plan that falls into place in the event that we have a pandemic in the Antelope Valley? Now, I understand that plans have to be adjusted, but I also understand that if I can't see a plan, there's a good chance that there is no plan. I mean, that's been my experience in life. And so, and you know, Mike, I'm not doing this to you personally, but I do recognize I'm dealing with the county now. And what I've learned is not to just take it on faith. So I'm asking you, when do we get to see the plan that is flexible, that will protect the city of Lancaster?
I can forward you the Los Angeles County plan for a pandemic event. I can give you that. In fact, that's on the website.
And does it specifically address the city of Lancaster?
No, it does not. It doesn't address specifically any city within the county.
Then let me ask you this. Who actually distributes the Tamiflu if it needs to be distributed?
Department of Public Health.
And do they even have an office in Lancaster?
I don't know.
Do you know, Mr. Bozigian?
I don't know if it's part of the county complex on K4 or not.
Has anybody ever met somebody from the county public health?
Yeah, it's the same entity. Excuse me. It's the same entity that would handle food service inspections or grocery stores. Same entity. So they're on K4.
So it's not the fire department. I'd feel a lot safer if it was the fire department.
What I can tell you, Mr. Mayor, is I have seen in Santa Fe Springs the stockpile of Tamiflu, and Public Health has reached out to the fire department among a bunch of other county departments to provide transportation for batches of Tamiflu, depending upon where the area was hit. So we have been involved in that. Does the county fire department own this program? No, we don't. Have we participated in the planning of it? Yes, we have.
Am I correct in thinking that this thing needs to be planned better than it is?
I'd be perfectly honest with you. Is understanding the nature of the enemy, I'm not sure if it's possible to do that. I have looked at the CDC plan, I've looked at the World Health Care Organization's plan, and the DOT plan. And all of them have to be flexible enough to be able to work with a particular strain of flu that hits the nation.
I can add one small piece, and that is that each of our local hospitals does have an infection control function that monitors what comes in through the emergency room, and they are in daily contact with the Department of Public Health, because although DPH would be giving out the Tamiflu, they need to hear where they need to send it to from our local healthcare providers. Help me out here.
Okay.
How do you make me feel secure that there's actually a plan in place, that I know deputies are going to have a reasonable supply of Tamiflu so that they'll come to work? I mean, if people start dropping dead, there has to be some level of protection. I want a plan that I know that the essential people are going to have this distributed to them before it's too late.
Yeah.
You know, waiting for a doctor to prescribe it is usually too late. By the time you get into the doctor and they give you Tamiflu, you might as well not take it, right?
That's true. And I can provide you a written document that's specific to law enforcement, and also I can provide you a specific document from the county that is specific to first responders, which would include firefighter, paramedics, and EMTs. That document I can give you. But I equate this oftentimes to a significant earthquake event. One of the lessons we learned in the Loma Prieta earthquake is that when the shaking starts, and it takes time to assess where the damage is. And once we do assess where the damage is, that's when we start pushing all of our resources to the particular area that is impacted the most. And when an earthquake does hit, in all 21 of our battalions, we ask for an assessment immediately from all 21 as to what level of earthquake damage is in that particular battalion. This is very similar to this flu plan. If the flu were to hit, the first piece of information we'd need to get is what area it hit and how severe it hit in that specific area. And that's the same way that we have developed our plan for earthquakes, and it's a very similar way to the way the public health has devised their plan. So again, the first piece of information is where is it at? And then they distribute the Tamiflu based upon the local need in the area that's localized in, if indeed it's localized.
You know, I feel pretty confident about the earthquakes because I know you're in charge of that.
Thank you.
But what I'm hearing is you're not in charge of this.
No, I'm not.
And I would like you to look into that, Mr. Bozigian, and if we are not comfortable that we know that the pieces are in place, then we need to do something about it independent of the county. You know, usually when we rely on the county to protect us, we are unhappy.
Hope you're not including the fire department sheriffs in that.
I am not. Like I said, if you were in charge of this, I wouldn't be asking.
I appreciate that.
I mean, I've known you for 25 years now. I know that I could ask you right now where each one of your trucks were, and you know, interestingly enough. I mean, nobody has a command of this like you do. But I am unwilling to just accept it on face value that somebody we don't know the name of, who we don't know where their office is going to keep us safe. That just makes no sense to me. Okay? Thank you, Mr. Metro.
You're welcome.
And I do sincerely mean that. If they would give you the Tamiflu, I wouldn't have to ask any more questions.
And I appreciate that.
But they haven't done that yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anything else, Mr. Bozigian? Thank you. Any speaker cards? Eric, I got to get this. Oh, you have some more speaker cards?
I do.
Okay. Parashendo? Is that who it is? Is he left? Eric Parashendo?
I think they're waiting for my announcement first.
Oh, yeah, she's got to do the announcement. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time for you to address the council on any items that are not on the agenda. You'll find the speaker cards at the back of the council chambers. We ask that you fill them out very clearly and concisely so that in case the mayor, the council, or the city staff needs to get in touch with you, they will be able to read the cards. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. When you approach the podium, you'll see 3 lights. The green light comes on when your time begins. The yellow light comes on when you have 30 seconds left, and the red light comes on when your time is up. We do ask that you be considerate of the allotted time to allow other speakers to have their 3 minutes as well. Following this procedure will allow for a smooth and timely process for the meeting. State law does prohibit the City Council from taking action on items not on the agenda, and your matter will be referred to the City Manager. Thank you.
Okay, Eric?
Well, when it comes to the project on 60th West and Avenue L, I think one thing that should be added is public safety, because I think we are concerned enough about safety in school. As I showed you the article last week or 2 weeks ago of the fact that courts still went on lockdown, I think, and I told you this 2 weeks ago, I think we should be able to get used to seeing if that's put in. And so people might say, oh, we can put cops all over it, all over the school to make sure that doesn't happen. So we end up doing that, and it still happens. Next thing you know, they'll have to put the fencing with barbed wire, where all of a sudden it doesn't feel like the students are going to school for 6 hours. It feels more like they're going to prison for 6 hours. Back in February, former Ms. Cortill, when the Planning Commission spoke about this, former Ms. Cortill, Shelby Sanderson, stood right here saying, when it comes to situations, make sure that the youth has a voice, because we are the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Cleo Goss?
An example of half-truths can be found in the draft environmental impact reports for the 2 proposed shopping centers across the street from Cortesville High School within the air quality appendix. The Walmart Commons EIR claims it will only need 5 heavy-duty diesel delivery trucks per day. Where did they get this number? They don't justify it. Did they just pull it out of the air, or did they use actual numbers from existing stores of the same size? There are certainly enough Walmarts that there's bound to be at least one that's 200,000 square feet, the size for this proposal, that can provide a true number of required daily deliveries. The Walmart draft EIR can provide the number of daily deliveries for the second major anchor store, but it can't identify the name of the store. So how can they claim it will only need 3 deliveries per day when they don't even know what store it is? This totals 8 delivery trucks per day. Now the Lane Ranch EIR claims it will require 18 heavy-duty diesel delivery trucks per day for its 2 anchor stores. How come Walmart project needs less than half the number of delivery trucks? Both projects have 2 anchor stores of similar size, and both are supercenters that require daily deliveries for produce, dairy, meat, bakery, and frozen foods. Together, these 2 commercial centers and their 2 anchor stores would require 26 heavy-duty diesel delivery trucks per day. This does not include the other shops, restaurants, fast food stores that will also be built on these commercial centers. When it comes to half-truths, the worst case is the amnesia that happens with the Lane Ranch EIR. Only in the air quality appendix is the name of the super target store forgotten. They don't know. With the major anchor name forgotten, the EIR can now claim it does not need to have transport refrigeration units, which are the worst polluters, because the second anchor store, Home Depot, doesn't need them. It doesn't sell produce, dairy, meat, and frozen foods. In the end, doesn't matter, because both EIRs find their projects will have a significant unavoidable impact to the local air quality. This is the same air that the students across the street will be breathing during their mandatory exercise classes and their outdoor sport activities. Unavoidable means that there is no mitigation method to correct the problem, so you must decide if this health risk is one you're willing to take. The project developers and supercenters may be willing to take this unavoidable health risk, but it's the local residents and students who have to live with this, and we're not willing to risk our health for nothing more than another 2 discount shopping centers.
Chantel Scott.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Residential input to 2030 General Plan expressed a desire for more neighborhood parks, hiking trails, and open space. Why not build a park on the northwest corner of Avenue LA and 60th Street West? The nearest Lancaster City Park to the residents on the west side is at least 4 miles away. The West Side Park would offer recreation for all ages with classes for youth, adults, and senior citizens, such as Mommy and Me, after-school programs, arts and craft, music, dance, theater, summer programs for school-age students, gymnastics, yoga for seniors, and dog training, first aid, CPR, and classes in martial arts. A West Side Park could be a focal point for community events as well, strengthening local history in our rural heritage with festivals, concerts, or other events. A West Side Park built across the street from Quartz Hill High School could be used by high school students parking during school hours. The school is very short on parking. Even events such as football and baseball games, track and field, back-to-school nights, or cancer walkathons could also be used as a place to park. The park would give families attending weekends events held at the high school a place to enjoy picnics, or younger siblings a place to play with while their older brothers or sisters compete. The Quartz Hill High School bands and cheerleaders could hold practice in the park, and it would be a great place for school concerts, martial arts, and yoga classes. A park across the high school gives the community an opportunity to create unique learning and career development programs that fit well with the goals of 2030 general plan. A high school community parenting program could be created to benefit both students and the community. Students interested in preschool and teaching careers could earn work experience by helping out with the Mommy, Daddy, and Me and preschool classes. They could research parents' questions on numerous issues and use the result in a senior project. Benefiting the parents would
Sorry. Are you almost done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Professionals in the community, like nurses and school psychologists, could volunteer to lecture and answer questions on issues affecting infants and children. This would especially helpful for new parents and students, and give students an idea of what to expect when they decide to become a parent.
Thank you very much. The timing was almost flawless. Mike Scott?
I'm right in front of my daughter.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm right in front of my daughter.
Okay.
My name is Mike Scott. I too am going to read the 2030 general plan would like to develop commercial property in close proximity to new residential housing. This plan of mixing commercial among residential may be fine for new homes. Hopefully the commercial property is built prior to the home so potential homeowners would know what they are purchasing, but it should not be forced upon established residential communities. Rezoning an established residential neighborhood to allow for commercial development will destroy the character of the neighborhood and the quality of life for the established homeowners. A home is the single largest purchase for most people. When deciding on which home to buy, people base their decisions on location. They want to live in a good neighborhood, a place where they can feel safe raising their children, in a neighborhood that is desirable for resale purposes. They'll pay a higher price for a home built in a good location than they would for an identical one in a less desirable neighborhood. Rezoning a neighborhood to allow commercial development will only serve developers, not the residents. The majority of the homeowners do not wish to live next to commercial property, to inherit the problems of air pollution, abandoned shopping carts, and increased traffic, noise, and crime. The few homeowners who wish to trade their quiet residential property to be closer to commercial can move, leaving the remaining residents to live in the type of neighborhood they bought into. The 2030 general plan needs to make clear that it would not mix commercial property among established residential communities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jeff Stover.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Stover, and I've lived in this valley for about 40 years. A number of people here already know me, I think. But anyway, I'm speaking on regarding the developments you plan to put in, or there's plans to put in the near Portsville High School.
I'm not putting in any developments.
Well, not a development, but additionally adding another set of shopping centers around Quartz Hill High School.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think of the benefits who are going to benefit and who will not be so beneficial. This will not be so beneficial to, and I believe it's just the landowners and possibly the construction folks will be temporarily there building these items, these shopping centers. And I don't know if you can tell me who else. That's for another time. If you'll come up with an answer for that, I'd like to hear it. But anyway, for now, my feeling is that there's safety and some risks involved here, and I want to address that. And I think the negatives are certainly going to be the traffic flow, traffic congestion in that general area. And having worked at that high school for over 11 years, Quartz Hill High School, by the way, I've seen the way kids drive. I see the way they act around these schools, and other schools for that matter. And in a place where that would be a shopping center around those areas would create such a traffic situation. I think the inexperienced drivers of teenagers and the parents trying to drop off their children would also create a situation that would be dangerous to these children. Additionally, the traffic from trucks and all that kind of thing would be a big thing. And I also know that kids will dash across the street trying to ditch school and so on like that. So you may find them trying to go to these shopping centers. Now, there's another issue related to the shopping centers, that I know that these two shopping centers, a Target and a Walmart, sell alcohol. So I believe there's something in the laws related to schools in proximity to places that sell alcohol. So that's something I think I need to hear an answer on as to why you would want to have one there based on that particular part of the issue. I don't know why you want to have those items there at this point in time, especially based on the situation with the economy, and I believe the population in this valley is going down, not up. So therefore, the money of which you will receive some taxes from would not be any more than you would have at this point from the ones that are already sitting on these locations around this valley. One more of these Walmarts and another Target doesn't seem to me to be a benefit, and I would expect that you would spend the monies from this that you might put into this development as part of what the city might spend towards other more prudent items. And I also feel that the negative effects are certainly going to be felt by all, and the risk to those kids is certainly a big one. At the very least, you should remove the consideration of building this across from the high school and at least find another place in the vicinity if you're so adamant about building something in that general area. I'd put it down the road somewhere towards the prison or further towards the west and keep it away from that school because I believe they'll be drawn to that. I believe that's about all I have to hit on right now, and my time's getting short, so I would like to talk more about this later, but I appreciate your attention.
Thank you. You know, in answer to your question, Mr. Stover, if it was up to us, we wouldn't build it anywhere. The reality is we have a huge budget deficit to deal with. It's not a deficit yet, but we've got a huge budget problem. And so we have a choice. We can let this money from the taxes go to Palmdale, or we can do the zoning to keep it in Lancaster. And that really is the choice. And as difficult as it is for people to recognize that, that is the choice that we're going to be facing when we decide this. We can keep those. You know, it's over $1.2 million a year is the projected income from just the Walmart Center. We can keep that in Lancaster, which allows us to do the public safety programs that we're all very proud of in this city, or we can allow that tax money to go to Palmdale. Ultimately, that is the choice we're going to make, and I don't think anybody at this table has made the decision yet, but I would like it to be clear that none of us here, none of us, would want those developments at that specific location. But it is totally irresponsible of us not to recognize the consequence if we don't have it. And so when people are saying that this is somehow our idea, it's not. We don't get to choose where they're going to build this. We can only choose if they're going to build it in Lancaster or Palmdale. Now, you know, nobody said sitting here was going to be easy, but I do want the choice that we're going to have to make clear to everyone. It's not us wanting to build anything across from a high school. If this was one city, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. You would have already won the day. But it's not one city. It's two cities, and the five of us up here have got to protect the citizens of Lancaster, whether we find it easy to do so or not. Now, just so everybody knows where I'm thinking and what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking it.
My expression of that,
Wait a minute, I can't have you do that because of the rules, okay? But if you want to give me a call and sit down and talk about it, I'd be happy to. Okay? Thank you. Barbara Mazels? Barbara? I'm doing good. How are you? Well, you're looking good. No, come on down. You got to do it from the microphone.
I want to speak at the Memorial Day.
Barbara, you have to, Barbara, you have to give it to one of them. You have to give. No, because if you do, then I got to let everybody do it. And there's some people that want to bring me bad things.
Okay, thank you. This is, I like Rabbi Hoffman, friend of your mother, who thinks she's a fine Christian, as I do too. And this flag,
well, didn't I?
when this was taken in May 8th, 1945, by my brother in the 507th Screaming Eagles. And this is not a flag, it's a banner. Flags are in parades, banners are won in wars. And this was something I said when I showed it at the Holocaust Memorial. And my brother was one of those in the Company Easy One who captured this Nazi dressed in civvies, and underneath he had his SS, and he had his SS underneath, and my brother took the Jewish star off of him. And he said in German that he was sorry that he wasn't able to kill all the Juden. And my brother said, "Ich bin Juden," I'm a Jew. And then he repeated that he wished he had killed more of the Juden. And my brother said, "Ich bin Juden," and the Irish kid said, "Ich bin Juden," and the Italian kid said, "Ich bin Juden," because they were a family. They were brothers in a war. The Jews and the Christians today march again, as they've always done, as brothers, along with the Muslims, the Hindus, and everyone else who fought in World War II. And the first man who was killed was a free man in the Revolutionary War from Africa. And the first man who subsidized George Washington was a man by the name of Simon, who gave up his fortune and died a poor man, but richer than most, because he had the citizenship of being in the United States. I would like to thank all those who fought in the Korean War. I would like to thank all those who fought in Desert Storm, in Vietnam, and all the crosses across the world where our soldiers lay, and remind everyone that be they president or congressman, our citizenship is not for sale. There is no price. Thank you.
Thank you.
That man signed it and gave it to my brother because he beat the hell out of the SS officer and buried him somewhere in Germany. Buried him, covered him, and went back to the war. This is the flag. That's why I'm an advocate.
You're a good advocate, too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And by the way, I went to some of your schools, and in the middle of the school, the grandparents called the children across the street. And the problem is they're going to get hit by cars unless you put a crosswalk in the middle of the streets. And say, have a little sign that says, "Caution, our deers, D-E-A-R-S, are crossing." Just a suggestion.
Thank you, Barbara. Victoria Savala?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and fellow council members. As you may know, my name is Victoria Zavala. I just want to thank anybody and everyone who was the person who signed off and said, go ahead and do a medical marijuana booth at the Poppy Festival. I just want to let you know that with that, we got over 150 signatures for Americans for Safe Access. As you know, we don't have any local dispensaries or anything that's available for us as Safe Access patients. We gave out, it was just an amazing, just 10 cases of water, bags of candy, you know, the literature, the signatures, I mean, over 5,000 pieces of literature. It was just amazing. The turnout, that no one is saying no to this. They're actually needing this. And I'm here today to ask each and every one of you for some form of meeting or support how we can get better safe access for our patients. I know that you are concerned in regards to Attorney General guideline, you know, rules, which I do have them here. I am willing to sit and give you most of my medical marijuana, you know, experience that I have, not just medicinally and, you know, going to Oaksterdam, but we were also in a cover of a LA Gem magazine, which is a Los Angeles journal for medical marijuana. I'm a really big activist and an advocate, and they know what we're doing here. I also had Richard Eastman. He's one of the founders of Proposition 215. And a lot of people, you know, like I said, patients, they know who he is, and they're willing to come here and to help better form this collective is what I'm willing and what I would like to do for our city. Also give back in tax returns and build other types of centers and give back to our community. We were asked to go to a Pride Festival in Palmdale, and we're also invited to go to another festival in Lancaster. Again, giving this information is a good resource for both you and I in many different ways. Again, we need affordable, safe access for all of us patients. Also, there is a story here, too, in regards to Charles Lynch. I don't know if you may know, he is a dispensary owner, was in Morro Bay. I did speak with Janice Peter, which is the mayor of Morro Bay, and Rob Schultz, which is the city attorney of Morro Bay. And they basically said his business was ran right. It was just somebody in the law enforcement that wasn't really happy with what was going on. But as of this point, he hasn't broken any state nor federal law. So we're going to see how that goes on because of the fact that it was under the Bush administration, but now the Obama administration is completely different on that. So I would just like to have some form of future, a meeting, how we can better resource this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. David Paul. I haven't seen a T-shirt like that in ages.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, good evening. Yeah, I got it new today. It's kind of nice.
I like it.
I was hoping Councilwoman Marcus would be here tonight. I had some remarks prepared that I know she would enjoy. Mr. Mayor, I think we're at a crossroads in our city. Something is either going to happen with the control of the medical marijuana movement, or we're just going to ignore it and it's going to take place anyway. Tonight you talked about our need to have tax revenue, and this is a large block of tax revenue that's largely going ignored. And I also have concerns with the entire way we deal with drug policy in our country, allowing all these drugs to go, drug money to go to fund the cartels. But what we have right now is a situation to ease the suffering of people. I was at the booth at the fair, at the Poppy Festival, and I watched a lot of people come in that I didn't expect to be sympathetic to the cause, and they are. They know someone with cancer, they know someone with other illnesses that benefit, and they have to go onto the streets or down below. And I would like to offer my services to form a comprehensive policy, the wide-ranging efforts to, by way of example, I know the gentleman didn't get permission, but I got this nice shirt today, clearance at Walmart, and outside is a gentleman with a T-shirt with a big marijuana leaf, and he's promoting Prop 390, which is just a legalization bill. So there are all sorts of efforts underway to get a handle on this, but I would like us as a city to take the lead, and I want to help you do that. I have some recommendations. I've been looking into this, and I formed some conclusions. The pamphlet I gave you is a state-of-the-art dispensary I discovered just yesterday in Westwood. It's really incredible. They have all these herbs other than the medical marijuana that help people, and it's a beautiful store. But short of controlling it, it's going to get out of hand, and I just want to help us do that. So think about that. I have local doctors that are ready to participate if they know that the city is willing to back this endeavor. So there's a lot already lined up. I don't want to reveal everything, but I do want to have a chance to present findings to the council on the agenda. So that's what I'm asking of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Okay. There's one other speaker card, but it was late. And what I'm concerned about is that if we don't enforce the rule, then they get to sue us when I do enforce the rule. And so what we've decided is that the P.K. Shaw rule is in effect. The speaker cards have to be in before the first speaker. And so I'm sorry we can't call on the last speaker. And with that,
have a report there.
We have a council report from Vice Mayor Smith.
Yeah, it was another TDA Article 8 hearing, and what's that?
Yeah.
In English? In English, yeah. Money to fix our roads.
Oh, good.
And it's where you have to have a public hearing to see if there's any unmet transportation needs. And went to 3 of them, and I had a 4th one that I was going to go to, which was on Avalon, but I decided not to go because the first one, the 3 people that showed up basically complained that they couldn't carry enough recycling bags on the bus. That had nothing to do with the hearing. The second one, nobody showed up. The third one, one person showed up but just talked about a senior center and just transportation. But by law, we need to take that public input. Unfortunately, nobody comes, and Avalon has its own special needs. And so, I'm sure they're going to give their input to the staff and the county and everything, and they're going to, they don't have any buses that really go from Avalon to downtown. And so they have other issues. So I just decided to save the dollars on that. But we did do one in Lancaster, but nobody showed up. So that's it for that. But if there's no other reports, I did have a council comment, if I could, Mr. Mayor.
So, wait a minute, did you just report that you had a meeting and nobody came?
Yes, and luckily I was chair, and it lasted about 10 seconds.
I could have stretched that out for an hour, couldn't I, Barbara? It's not allowed to make lawyer jokes, right? Hey, careful.
No.
Okay,
so
moving on to, well, thank you for the report, and moving on to council comments. Vice Mayor Smith, did you have something?
Yeah, I did have something. A number of years ago, before I was on the council, there was a decision made, a unanimous decision made, to name this what's going to be the center of our downtown Lancaster. That's going to be with the promenades and everything else, and the artist lofts. It's going to be a focal point for our city. And the previous council, before I was on, decided to name it Gilly Park. Now, it's had a lot of, since then, a little bit, and every time politically it comes up, then there's some more stuff in the newspaper and some comments, and we've actually had some comments here too. It's interesting that that back then Mr. Gilly did not request or even knew that this was going to be done. But yet a number of people in the community have put that on his shoulders. Now, Jim Gilly did some amazing things for this city. In fact, in California, he was known as one of the top city managers in California for things that he did during a recession that we got. I mean, the Jet Hawk Stadium and the Sheriff's Station and the L Overpass. There's a lot of people in this community that have contributed and done some amazing things for the whole valley. But I want everybody to think there for a second, and those that are watching on TV or on the computer. Can you name the last 3 soldiers from the Antelope Valley that gave their life in the Iraq War? If there's no bigger contribution to this valley and to our freedoms, it's those that lay their life on the line and risk their lives. So I have 2 proposals that I'd like on the next council meeting. One is that for the park area, we look at an appropriate memorial that memorializes not only fire and police officers that have given their life, or citizens that have risked their life, but also for those, and as she brought up tonight, Lancaster residents, Antelope Valley residents, that the Korean War, the Gulf War, Vietnam, World War II, World War I, if we had anybody that happened to be living here that died here in the valley that was in the Civil War, put them up too. So that's one. The second is I think it would be appropriate to also change the name of Gilly Park to the American Heroes Park. And so I would like that on the next agenda for May 12th.
Any comments?
Yeah, I'm not quite for sure. Not that I would disagree with Vice Mayor Ron Smith. I'm not for sure if that's in response to the fact that this morning I placed on the agenda for this next meeting to discuss that very same issue. And I think that it'll be a real interesting dialogue, I think, on the next meeting.
Well, I haven't checked my emails today because I've been busy with meetings, as I always am on days like this. But I think Mr. Bozigian, I mean, the thing with the memorials, and this has been in the works for, I've been talking about it for about 2 years now, and maybe Mr. Bozigian can talk about the memorial and the things that we talked about, and talked with Lyle and Bob Green also about it.
Well, thank you, Mr.
Actually, Mr. Mann, I don't believe that's accurate. The email you sent was asking or promoting naming the Gilly Park, what was the name of the people that we bought the land from? Rowell? I think your email said you wanted to name it Rowell Park, not American Heroes Park.
Sure.
And just to be accurate, also, since you bring the subject up, is my understanding is we're not allowed to send emails to each other setting forth our positions on various issues because it violates the Brown Act. And in the future, if somebody wants to put something on the agenda, they should limit it to they're putting this item on the agenda. They shouldn't be sent. I mean, it's a violation of the law. It's a crime. And I don't want to be opening up my emails from you guys, and just because I opened it up, I now have to worry about violating the Brown Act. There's a very clear way we are to behave, and I would suggest that you do so.
Sure.
Thank you.
And I appreciate the comments and the. Obviously, you've had some problems historically, and I can understand your concern moving forward, so I appreciate that.
No, I have never had a problem sending emails to you guys where I'm putting forth my position as to why I think you should vote for something. That has never occurred, Mr. Mann. The only time that has occurred, that the entire time that I have been mayor, is when you chose to do it today. And I am telling you, do not do it again, or I will contact the district attorney's office and have them take whatever measures they have to. It's inappropriate. Don't do it. Clear enough? There's no history to this. You are the only person to have ever done it. Now, I do appreciate the fact that now that you've sat on this council for a year, you have finally put something on the table in regards to a motion. It's taken a year, but, you know, I think that you're to be commended. You're finally now participating as a council member. I would just like you to do it in the legal fashion. But I am a little surprised that it's taken a year for you to make one single motion or put one single item on the agenda. And if I'm wrong about that, please just let me know.
No, I think you've clarified that.
Thank you. Jerry, would you make certain that we have the park issue on the agenda?
Yes, sir.
And I'm sure it will be a raucous debate.
Well, as I was saying, just to say for what Mr. Mann said, I didn't have any of my city emails today because I was away from my office and everything. But I know Mr. Green can attest, and if Lyle Norton was here, Mr. Bozigian and I have been talking for probably almost 2 years now about the park, the memorial, honoring American heroes and stuff, and we just haven't been talking about it publicly. But we're getting. The timing is coming up because we're getting very close, as Mr. Bozigian can say, to actually finalizing the contract for the park. Is that correct?
We would hope to have the design done in the next couple of weeks and out to bid immediately after that.
So the timing is more about the finalization of the park and the plans and the talking that's been going on for the past number of years.
My thinking on it, and just so everybody's aware, is that if we're going to do this, I would like some citizens' input, maybe in the form of a committee or something like that, so that we don't just repeat the thing that we've been going through the past few months as to the appropriate naming of that park. But we can discuss that further when it's on the agenda. Anything else from any council members? Aren't you part of the group that voted to name this Gilly Park? I'm surprised I'm not hearing any comments from you.
Oh, I was, in fact, the only member sitting up here who was on the council when we named that park. And I will reiterate my position that I've had. I'm going to save that so that we don't get in any trouble. I'm going to save that for the next meeting.
Okay, I was just curious. All right. Thank you. Okay. With that, Carol, my day is done and I'm coming home. And we're adjourned until Tuesday, May 12th at 6 o'clock. Thank you.